Now then, how are you doing? I wonder how many of you have seen the Rolling Stone 500 Greatest Albums of All Time list, which was published again recently. How many Elvis Presley albums are on there? What position are they in? Which albums are there? Is Elvis underrepresented on the list? Well, there are actually three albums on the list, three Elvis Presley albums on the list. Firstly, at number 332 is Elvis Presley, his self-titled debut album. This is a predictable choice, but historically it's an important album, and it has an immortal cover, and also it's a very enjoyable listening experience. Although it's not as consistent as his second album, and I actually prefer the UK version of the first album because it has a better selection of Sun Records tracks. So this is at number 332. At number 322 is from Elvis in Memphis, recorded in 1969. This is more of a surprising selection, I think, because the album is not especially groundbreaking. Elvis sings superbly throughout. The band is brilliant throughout. It's a great collection of songs. And I think maybe it's the inclusion of In the Ghetto that makes this album get onto the list. Elvis really got political, and In the Ghetto still sounds relevant lyrically today. The third Elvis album on the list is at number 78, and it is the Sun Collection. So as you can see, compilations are okay on the list. This album ranked much higher on one or more of the previous versions of this list. Again, like the first album, the historical importance of the album is undeniable, and it's actually, I think, a more enjoyable listen than the first album. So those are the three albums on the list: the Sun Collection, From Elvis in Memphis, and Elvis Presley, the self-titled debut album. So could there have been any more albums on the list? Well, what are the candidates? Soundtrack albums? No chance. The 1970s studio albums? Well, they're largely consistent, largely good albums, but hardly earth-shattering. Elvis Country, I think, is as good as From Elvis in Memphis in every way, but it doesn't have a killer track like In the Ghetto. The same could be said for Elvis Is Back in 1960. It's a superb album, but it doesn't have that killer track that would spark the imagination of the kind of people who compile lists such as this. So what else do we have? The other 1960s studio albums, Potluck, Something for Everybody. These albums are a little bit too poppy, a little bit too safe, I think, for this kind of list. And Elvis also recorded gospel music, of course, but religious music is not likely to make such a list. So what else do we have? What about an Elvis live album? Aha! We have a candidate. The TV special from 1968, released in 1969, I think. So on this album, this album not only resurrected Elvis's career, on the album you also have some of the best live versions of Elvis's hits. It also has a decent selection of new songs, and it has a killer track at the end, If I Can Dream, which rivals In the Ghetto. So this one, I think, would definitely not look out of place on the list. So what else do we have? Well, what about the 1950s, apart from the Sun Collection and the Elvis Presley debut album? Well, Elvis is sometimes referred to as a singles artist, and it was certainly through his singles that Elvis shook the world, especially in 1956. And the best way to hear those singles, I think, is on this album here, Elvis's Golden Records. And also you have hits also from 1957, such as All Shook Up, Teddy Bear, and so on. So which other artists in the history of popular music, except maybe the Beatles, could bring out an album of hits, hits collection full of actual hits within 2 years? Like I said, maybe only the Beatles. So the list, Rolling Stone 500 greatest albums of all time, it kind of met my expectations. 3 Elvis albums was about what I thought would be on there. But I certainly think Elvis's Golden Records and the TV special would also not be out of place on that list. What do you think?